Okay, so in yesterday's class, we started with the band, how the band formation happens in semiconductors, and the characteristic of semiconductors is actually the a medium range band gap, right? Which is the main difference between the semiconductors and metals. In metals, we don't have any band gap. We have a continuous energy states from the vacuum level up till the from the Fermi level up to the vacuum level. So there are continuous bands. In case of semiconductors, we have a band gap, right? Because of which the electrons need to be get excited from the from the valence band to the conduction band, and then once the electron has reached the conduction band, then only it can participate in the electrical conduction, right? That's what we discussed in yesterday's class. So now we will start with the concentration, the carrier electron and hole concentration in a semiconductor, how we can define these concentrations. I'm sorry if there are some disturbances today. There are some small kids at home, so there might be some noise in the background. I will try to be as clear as possible. Okay. So yes, so here we this is the band. Let me get my laser pointer. Okay, so this is how the band structure or the band formation of semiconductor happens, right? There is a valence band which is full at 0 Kelvin temperature, at absolute zero temperature. All of these states are occupied, which means all the electrons are occupying the energy states in the valence band, and the conduction band will be completely empty, isn't it? But that is the scenario at zero temperature. And if we want to excite one of these electrons from valence band to the conduction band, we need to provide it the energy which should be greater than or equal to this band gap, ec minus ev. We need to provide that much energy for the electron to get excited from valence band to the conduction band, right? It can be in the form of photon, or there are other ways which we will discuss in the chapter afterwards, but that energy need to be provided. What happens at a finite temperature is, because we have discussed in the previous chapters also, when there is a finite temperature, the atoms are vibrating around their equilibrium positions, isn't it? And because of these thermal vibrations, some of the atoms, they can gain sufficient energy to rupture the bond. And as we discussed earlier, this bond rupture basically results into the formation of a electron hole pair, right? So this electron hole pair which will be generated, the electron will move into the conduction band and the hole will remain in the valence band. And as long as it is a intrinsic semiconductor, the number or the concentration of electrons and holes, they will remain the same. Intrinsic semiconductor, as I mentioned yesterday also, is actually a semiconductor which does not have any impurities. There is no contribution of electrons and holes from a foreign atom. That is the essential meaning of intrinsic semiconductor, right? So in case of intrinsic semiconductor, the number of electron and holes, they will be the same, because whenever you will generate an electron, a hole will be created automatically. So that's why their concentration will be same. And at a finite temperature, because of these thermal vibrations, we will have certain concentration of electrons and holes because of the thermal vibrations of the atoms, right? So now if we start looking at this, how we can define the concentration of the electrons and holes, right? We did this exercise in the previous chapter also, when we were discussing quantum theory of metals or free electron theory of metals. If we want to define the number of electrons, we need to basically consider the conduction band. We are interested in the concentration of electrons in the conduction band because these are the only electrons which participate in the conduction process. We are not really concerned about the electron concentration in valence band. We will be actually more interested in the concentration of holes in the valence band, because these holes which are there in the valence band, they will also participate in the electrical conduction. Let us, for now we will discuss with the electron, right? So if we want to define the concentration of electron, we need two quantities. First is density of states, which actually tells Just to remind you, a density of states actually is number of energy states which are available per unit volume per unit energy, right? So this is the density of states, and this density of states is proportional to when actually we take it, when we take this segment which is from the bottom. It we derived in the earlier chapter that it should be the density of states is proportional to E minus EC to the power half, which is basically the difference in energy from the conduction band minimum, right? It is proportional to the under root of this difference in the energy, right? So once we know the density of states, we basically know the number of states which are there per unit volume per unit energy. The second quantity which we will need actually is the probability distribution function, right? We discussed in the earlier class that it is the electrons. If we want to define the probability statistics for electrons taking into account the Pauli's exclusion principle, which is actually quantum mechanical principle, then we need to take Fermi-Dirac function. So Fermi-Dirac function, we have already seen how it looks like. So this is the Fermi-Dirac function for electrons, isn't it? And opposite of that will be, of course, the Fermi-Dirac function for holes, right? Because hole is nothing but absence of an electron. So absence of electron will be defined by 1 minus f of e. That's why this is the probability distribution function of the holes, and this red line is the probability distribution function of the electrons. If we multiply these two quantities, the density of states of electrons and the probability distribution function of electrons, then we will get the concentration distribution of electrons, basically Ne here. Let me here actually Ne actually yes, this Ne is Ge times Fe, right? So what it will tell is, or rather than defining Ne, let us discuss this. Ne De is equal to Ge Fe times De, right? This is nothing but the number of electrons in an energy range, or the concentration of electrons in an energy range from E to E plus De, right? In a very small, in a narrow energy range, the concentration of electrons that will be defined by the density of states and probability distribution function in this way, right? And because this is sort of density distribution, if we take the integral and the basically the area under this curve, that will be the concentration of electrons, or the total number of electrons per unit volume in the conduction band, right? This red area which you can see here, this is actually nothing but the concentration of electrons in the conduction band, right? So now, and area is nothing but the integral, right? We can take, if we take the integral of Ne, then over this entire range, then we will get the total concentration of electrons in the conduction band. So now let us see how we can come up with an expression using this, whatever we have discussed so far. Let me move to the next slide. Yes. So N over the entire conduction band, if we want to define N, it should be Ne times De, and the limit on the integrals will be from the bottom of the conduction band up to the vacuum level. Because I mean, you remember that this range of the energy, basically up the energy difference from the bottom of conduction band up to the vacuum level, it is known as electron affinity, isn't it? Electronic affinity. So that should be the limit of integration. But you can see here, as we move away from the bottom of the conduction band, probability distribution function is almost zero, and because of that, this concentration distribution function is also tends to zero as we move away from the bottom of the conduction band. So rather than keeping this limit, the upper limit to Ec plus chi, we can simply replace it also by we can replace this by infinity, right? So this is the integral which we need to find. Once we can find this, then we can define, we can basically predict the concentration of electrons in a semiconductor, right? So let us see what is Ne. We have already defined Ne is Ge times Fe dE. From the previous chapter, we can replace the expression for Ge, which is actually it's a long expression, but anyways, I will try to write pi 8 under root 2 me star. This is the effective mass of electron to the power 3 by 2, and this should be divided by h cube. Okay, and E minus EC to the power half. So this is actually the density of states. Somebody is asking some question. Please explain how 1 minus Fe will be equivalent to concentration of holes. Are we taking the whole empty space of conduction band as holes too? Yes, actually, see, if you look here, this is only the distribution function. So if you look at here, this tells us what is the probability of finding an electron at a particular energy level, right? Let us say at this particular energy, this will be the value, or this will be the probability of finding an electron, and not finding, so basically the probability of not finding an electron will be 1 minus this value, which is plotted here, and that is equivalent to the probability of finding a hole, isn't it? Not finding an electron is actually equivalent to finding a hole. It does not mean there is a hole there, actually it is only the probability of finding a hole, isn't it? So that's why we define the probability of finding a hole in this particular way. But you should also know that this is only the probability. It will again depend on uh, the density of states for the holes in the conduction band. So it does not, because the probability is high, that does not mean that the concentration of holes will be high in conduction band. That is not the case, because we need to multiply this quantity by the density of states of holes. What we have plotted here is actually the density of states of electrons. We need to multiply this quantity by density of states of holes, and then only we will get the concentration, right? Okay, so this is yes, we were discussing this. This is the expression which we derived in the last chapter also for the density of states. Sorry for my poor handwriting, but I hope it is understandable. Now, what I said was, for the electrons, if we want to follow the quantum mechanical principle, we need to have probability distribution function, which is defined by Fermi-Dirac function, because that takes care of Pauli's exclusion principle. But if you remember, I gave a hint in the last chapter also, when the concentration, or when the number of electrons is much smaller than the number of available states, which is actually the case in the conduction band, isn't it? In the conduction band, there are a lot of empty states, and in comparison to the number of states, the number of electrons which are there in the conduction band, that is very, very small. And when this number is when we compare these two numbers, like the number of electrons and the number of energy states which are there, if the number of electrons is very small, that means finding two electrons in the same electronic states, the probability of that is very, very low. What does Pauli's exclusion principle tells? Actually, that the two electrons cannot have same electronic wave function, or they cannot be in the same electronic state. But when we are talking about a scenario where the number of energy states is much larger in comparison to the number of electrons, then that principle will be approximately already be followed by the electrons, because they have a lot of energy states to occupy. So there is no competition for the energy states. That will actually sort of guarantee that the Pauli's exclusion principle is automatically followed. And that's what I mentioned in the previous class also. In the conduction band, where actually the energy states are much more in comparison to the number of electrons, the Boltzmann statistics can be approximated for the probability distribution function of electrons. So that's what we will do here, because Boltzmann distribution function is simpler for integration. If you remember, the Boltzmann distribution function actually looks like, it is simply exponential minus E minus EF divided by KT. Is this logic clear? This is very important actually. This is one of the very major difference between the metals and semiconductors. If there is still some confusion regarding why we approximated the probability distribution function for electrons with Boltzmann statistics, I can explain it again. Okay, if it is clear, then after that it is very simple. Like we have E minus EC to the power half. So all these other quantities which are there within the integral, they can be taken out. They are actually constants. Only this portion which is there, this will remain inside the integral, and then this integral can be easily calculated. Once we calculate this, n comes out to be equal to nc ec minus ef by kt. Okay, n is equal to nc times exponential minus ec minus ef by kt, where actually nc is defined as 2 times to pi me star So this is the expression. This is a very important expression. This tells us the number of electrons in an intrinsic semiconductor. You should remember that this concentration of electrons comes out for the intrinsic semiconductor. I have written it. We can look actually at this slide. So electron concentration is Nc times exponential minus Ec minus Ef by Kt. If you look at this, it is very clear that as we move away from the bottom of the conduction band, as we move up or as we move higher in the conduction band, the concentration of electrons will keep decreasing, isn't it? As we move away or as we move up in the conduction band, the concentration of electrons will keep decreasing. Now this quantity which is Nc, it is defined like 2 pi me star kt by h square, right? It is also known as effective density of states at conduction band edge. Why we are calling it like this actually is, if you see, this looks like, this is actually the Boltzmann distribution function at the Fermi energy, sorry, at the conduction band edge, at the energy level EC. This is actually the Boltzmann distribution function, because Boltzmann distribution function is exponential minus E minus Ef by Kt, right? So we have replaced E by EC. So that means this is actually the distribution function at the conduction band edge, isn't it? So this Nc is called effective density of states, because when we are multiplying this probability distribution function by Nc, we are getting the number of electrons. So effectively actually it is density of states, because if you remember, if we want to calculate the number of, or basically the concentration of electrons, we multiply the probability distribution function by density of states at that particular energy, isn't it? If we want to find the number of electrons at a particular energy level, we need to multiply the density of states at that level and the probability distribution function. So this is already the probability distribution function at conduction band edge, and we are multiplying simply this by NC. That's why it is known as effective density of states at conduction band edge. You can read this out also. If we take all the electrons in the conduction band and replace them with an effective concentration NC at EC and multiply it with Boltzmann distribution function, we obtain the concentration of electrons at EC, that is the conduction band. So what we are doing is actually we are assuming that all the electrons which are there in the conduction band, they are all at actually the conduction band edge. And when we do that, then this is the density of states, and using this we can calculate the concentration of electrons in the whole conduction band. Sir, please repeat. What should I repeat? Please explain once more. I guess it is for this, why did we approximate this distribution function? Okay, let me just finish this discussion and then I will come back to this once more. Okay, right? So this is how we define the concentration of electrons. Similar exercise we can also repeat for holes. We will basically need to take into account the density of states for holes and the probability distribution function of holes, and then we can derive this expression for the concentration of holes, which will look like this: NV times exponential minus EF minus EV. If you see, actually we have the sign has reversed. Here it was EC minus EF, it is EF minus EV here, divided by KT. So as we move down in the valence band, the concentration of holes will keep decreasing, isn't it? As we move down in the valence band, the concentration of holes will keep on decreasing. This is what we get from this expression. And similar to the effective density of states at conduction band edge, we get effective density of states at valence band edge for hole concentration, which also looks very similar to NC, isn't right? So let me explain. Sir, EC is any energy level in conduction band, or it is only around EF? EC is actually conduction band minimum. This EC is defined as where actually the conduction band is starting. So EC is actually the conduction band edge. It is also known as conduction band edge or conduction band minimum, you can say. It is that energy, not any energy in the conduction band. Okay. Why we can approximate the probability distribution function for electrons in conduction band by Boltzmann statistics? The reason for that is we know that Boltzmann statistics doesn't follow the Pauli's exclusion principle. That was our main concern for not taking that for probability distribution function in case of metals, right? And if you remember, if you remember, for metals, the number of electrons in the conduction band, or basically the electrons which are participating in the conduction, they were comparable to the energy states. So that's why we need to explicitly follow the Pauli's exclusion principle. But in this case, you can see here the number of electrons is much smaller in comparison to the available energy states. Number of states which are available for occupation by the electrons, they are much higher in comparison to the number of electrons which are there in the conduction band. And due to this reason, what happens is that the probability of electrons occupying the same state is very, very low, right? Because there are many more states which are available, so electrons can go and easily occupy the states which are not the same. So because this probability is very low, the probability of electrons occupying the same state is very low, we don't need to follow this Pauli's exclusion principle explicitly, right? This will be approximately followed anyways or automatically by the electrons due to this fact that the number of states is much larger than the number of electrons which are available in the conduction band. Is this better now, clear, or still there is some confusion? Somebody's a question. Sir, can you please explain why we did not approximate Fe in previous chapter also? Because there also number of states were larger than the number of electrons. No, see, in this case, in case of metals, all the valence electrons, for example, copper has one valence electron, right? All the valence electrons of copper, they all participate, or basically they are all free to move around in the crystal, right? So basically the conduction band has lot of electrons, although there was no, like, no, we did not define this concept of conduction band because actually it was not required in case of metals. But in the number of electrons which are free to move around in the crystal, that is comparable to the number of energy states which are there in case of metals. But in semiconductors you can see that the electrons in the conduction band, the concentration of electrons in the conduction band is actually much smaller. They need to be excited. In case of metals, you don't need to give any extra energy to excite the electrons for participating or for becoming free. The electrons in the metals, they are already free to participate in the conduction process. But in case of semiconductor, if we want to move, if we want to have an electron, which should participate or which should be mobile or free, in the material, then we need to excite it from valence band to the conduction band. And due to this energy gap, or due to this fact that the electrons need to be get excited, this concentration is very very low. The concentration of conduction band electrons is very low, and that is why this this difference between the metals and semiconductor arises. In case of metals, the electrons don't need to get excited. They are already free in the material. They can move around freely within the metal. In this case, this is not that is not true. All these electrons which are in the valence band, they are all bonded electrons. They cannot simply break the bonds and start participating in the electrical conduction. They need to first get excited, or they need to first become free, and then only they can participate in the conduction. That is why this difference between the metals and semiconductors arises. Is this clear, Saksham? Did I answer your question? Okay. Let us move ahead. So these are two expressions which we get for the concentration of electrons and holes. Electrons in the conduction band and holes in the valence band. Now, an interesting quantity which comes out of these two relations is if we multiply these N and P. If we multiply the concentration of electrons and concentration of holes, what we get is actually a constant, NCNB exponential minus Eg by kT. Band gap actually is a constant. It's a material property, right? So that's why band gap is also constant. And Nc and Nv, you can see from this expression, they depend only on the temperature. All the rest of the quantities, all the rest of the parameters, they are constant. This is the effective mass of electrons, and here we have effective mass of holes. They only depend on temperature, right? So this Np, the multiplication of concentration of electrons and holes, it depends only on the temperature and material properties, of course, because effective mass of electrons and effective mass of holes, those are material properties. So and band gap is also a material property. So other than the temperature, there is no variable. They are all material properties. So if we increase, in some way, we will discuss how we can do that. In some way, if we increase the concentration of electrons, that means the concentration of holes will have to decrease, so that Ni remains a constant. Ni is actually the intrinsic concentration of charge carriers in a semiconductor. This is also known as mass action law. All right. In an intrinsic semiconductor, we know that N, the concentration of holes, is equal to the concentration of electrons. So, and that will be is equal to Ni. All right. Mass action law is valid in thermal equilibrium and in dark. why we say dark actually is that no photo generation of free electrons. Like if you generate electron hole pairs by photon emission, like you give, you are bombarding some photons with sufficient energy to excite the electrons, those in those situations mass action law is not followed. Okay, mass action law is followed only in thermal equilibrium and in dark, when there is no external stimulation of, or there is no external excitation of electrons from the conduction band to the, sorry, from the valence band to the conduction band. Only in those scenarios mass action law is followed. Okay, now actually we can use this, in an intrinsic semiconductor we know that n is equal to p and that should be is equal to ni. So if we equate these two expression, you can see that this is the expression for whole concentration and we are equating that with ni. Then we get EFI should be is equal to EV, which is the valence band h, half of the band gap, minus half kT ln NC by NV. Okay, and similarly if we equate n is equal to ni, we will get, sorry, this is again, this is simply just replacing NC by NV by ME star and MH star. So from here you can see that the Fermi energy of an intrinsic semiconductor, it is in some, like, in the, if we don't have this term here, it will be exactly in the middle of this band gap. This is the band gap, right? And if we are adding EV plus half of EG, the Fermi energy will be exactly in the middle, right? But we have an additional term here which is actually depending on the effective mass of electrons and holes. So if the effective mass of electrons and holes are same, which is the case in a lot of materials, in those cases this term will be zero, right? Because ln of 1 will be zero. So that means in those materials the Fermi energy will be exactly in the middle of the band gap, right? Only in the semiconductors where the effective mass of holes is equal to the effective mass of the electrons, in those semiconductors the Fermi energy in the intrinsic semiconductor, it will be exactly in the middle of the band gap. It will be EFI should will be is equal to EV plus EG by 2, right? Now, any questions so far? There is a question, sir. Mass of the holes is mass of electrons only. No, 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 that is not the case. If you remember, somebody is asking if the mass of the holes is the mass of electron. That is not true. Mass of the hole, effective mass especially of holes and electrons, they can be different. And if you remember from the previous chapter, we defined basically mass as the inertia to the acceleration, right? So this effective mass is a quantum mechanical quantity and it is usually derived from the band structure of a material. So we need to calculate all the interatomic forces and how they are affecting the holes, uh, you know uh, for in their acceleration. That's how we calculate the value of effective mass of the holes and electrons. But they are not necessarily same. In some cases they can be same, in a lot of cases actually they are same, but that is not true always. Effective mass of the holes and electrons, they can be different. Okay, any questions, any other questions so far? You can take a minute and think if there are any other questions. Okay, if there is no other question, let us discuss now. So far what we were discussing, that was intrinsic semiconductor. That means there are no impurities, or there are no impurities in that semiconductor. Now let us see how we can bias the semiconductor. Like in an intrinsic semiconductor, n is equal to p, the concentration of electrons and holes, basically they are same. For any practical purpose actually we need to have either of the, either one type of the semiconductor, like n type or p type semiconductors. So the definition of n type, why is it not disappearing? Yes. So in an n-type semiconductor, the concentration of electrons is higher than the concentration. This is an intrinsic semiconductor. You can say that the number of holes is actually equal to the number of electrons. Now, when we have n-type semiconductor, the number of electrons or the concentration of electrons is higher than the concentration of holes. And if we want to have this kind of scenario where the concentration of holes is smaller than the concentration of electrons, in those cases also the mass action law will be followed, right? N is equal to Ni square. Then it will happen only if Ec minus Ef is smaller than Ef minus Ev. That's why you can see here actually that the Fermi level is slightly shifted towards the conduction band. If the Fermi level is closer to the conduction band edge, in those cases actually it will be the n-type semiconductor, because here if you can clearly see that this difference between Ef minus Ec is actually smaller than the energy difference between the valence band edge and the Fermi level. So in an n-type semiconductor, Fermi level will be slightly shifted towards the conduction band. In p-type semiconductors, again, basically the concentration of holes will be larger than the concentration of electrons. And according to the mass action law, it can happen only if the Fermi level is slightly shifted towards the valence band edge. Only then the concentration of holes will be larger than the concentration of electrons. And these type of semiconductors are known as p-type semiconductors because they have an excess of holes. Okay. EF is a material property which is related to the concentration of charge carriers, right? We have already seen that both N and P actually they depend on the Fermi energy. Although the Ni does not depend, but individual concentration of electrons and holes, they both depend on the Fermi level, where basically the distance of conduction band edge and valence band edge from the Fermi level, that defines the concentration of electrons and holes, right? Sorry, the expression was here itself. Yes. And from here actually we can also define work function. In case of metals, the work function was defined from the Fermi level, how much energy is required to free an electron into the vacuum from the Fermi level, right? Similarly, we define work function for a semiconductor is also, it is actually the energy gap between the vacuum and the Fermi level. So definition remains the same, although the electrons are occupied from the conduction band edge, but the work function is defined in the same way as it was defined for the metals. The reference for the work function is taken is still from the Fermi level only. All right, that does not change. Now, if we want to calculate, we have already defined the concentration. We have already got the concentration of an expression for the concentration of electrons, right? Once we have got the concentration function, we can calculate the average energy of an electron in the conduction band also, right? Because it is simply nothing but E times NED. This is what you are seeing here, GCB times FE. This is nothing but Ne, right? So E times NED, that divided by the total number of electrons, that will be the average energy of electrons in the conduction band. And if you calculate this expression, I am not doing that integration here. If you calculate this expression, you will get the average energy of electrons in the conduction band, and that surprisingly actually comes out to be EC plus 3 by 2 kT. You must be familiar with this expression, right? 3 by 2 kT. This is what we get as the energy of an electron from the kinetic molecular theory. If you remember, from the kinetic molecular theory, the kinetic energy of an electron should be is equal to 3 by 2 kT, isn't it? There is a question actually, sir, why work function for semiconductor is defined so where no electrons can be there in the energy gap? That's a good question, but by convention actually it is defined like that. By convention, it is defined, the reference for the work function is taken from the Fermi energy only. So that probably, I mean, I am not sure, but the reason might be that to basically maintain the uniformity of the definition between, for all the materials, like for metals, semiconductors and other materials, the definition remains the same. Maybe that could be one of the reasons. I'm not sure, but that is how it is defined. Okay. So this is sort of very relieving, or for me it was very interesting that actually the energy of an conduction band electron in a semiconductor, it comes out what we can derive from the kinetic molecular theory also. And the reason, you can think about it actually for 2 minutes, why why the metal electrons did not follow the kinetic molecular theory. Probably that is not the scenario here, and that's why we are getting this sort of energy. You can think for a minute maybe, so that the question is, why do we get this energy of electron, which energy of an electron in the conduction band, which we derive from the kinetic molecular theory also. The reason, if you remember actually, that I repeated that many times, that in metals the electrons don't follow kinetic molecular theory because, correct, somebody is answering actually, Harsh. Yeah, that's sort of correct, that actually there is very less interaction between electrons in the conduction band. If you remember, in case of metals, the electrons interact very heavily with other electrons, as well as with the nuclei which are there in the material. In case of semiconductors, because the concentration of electrons in the conduction band is very small, because of that the interaction between the electrons is very small, or it can be basically neglected. And that was one of the assumptions, one of the basic assumptions of the kinetic molecular theory also, that the particles which are there, they should have no interaction, or there should be no external force on them. And that is being followed for the electrons in the conduction band. That is true for the electrons in the conduction band, because the concentration of electrons is very very low in the conduction band. All right. And due to this, actually the electrons, the average energy of electrons in a semiconductor in the conduction band, it comes out to be 3 by 2 kT. Why I'm emphasizing, why I'm not taking this into account, because actually this is just the reference. I mean, this is actually the potential energy. Above that, this 3 by 2 kT is actually purely the kinetic energy of the electrons in the conduction band. And this is actually more interesting part of the energy of the electron. The electrons in the conduction band behaves as if it were free, with a mean kinetic energy that is 3 by 2 kT and an effective mass me star. Yeah, we need to still take into account the effective mass of electron. Why do we see a difference in the behavior of conduction electrons of metals and semiconductors? This difference is actually the in the relative concentration of the electrons to the available energy states are different in two materials, right? We discussed this already, that the concentration of electrons is much smaller in comparison to the energy number of energy states which are available in the conduction band, and due to which we could assume the Boltzmann statistics for semiconductors. But for metals, we have to follow the Pauli's exclusion principle, because the concentration of electrons and the density of states, they are comparable. So that is why the Fermi-Dirac function was used. And since here we used the Boltzmann statistics for electron distribution, this is what we get for the average energy of electron in a conduction band. This is quite interesting actually, that this is the fundamental difference between the metals and the semiconductors. If you remember, the energy of an electron, the average energy of an electron in case of metal, that was completely independent of temperature, right? It was simply 3 by 5 times Fermi energy, which was very weakly dependent on temperature. So the kinetic energy of an electron in metal is independent of temperature, while the the kinetic energy of an electron in the semiconductor in the conduction band, it depends on temperature. It actually linearly varies with the temperature, as per the kinetic molecular theory also. Any questions on this? Any doubt? This is showing some of the typical semiconductors which are being used these days: germanium, silicon, gallium arsenide. These and their fundamental properties like band gap, electron affinity, effective density of states at conduction band edge, effective density of states at valence band edge. And I mean, all these are some basic properties of some common semiconductors. Yeah, I think we will stop here. We still have like 5 minutes. If you have any questions, any doubts, we can address them now. Any questions? Sir, there is a question. Is it convenient to define Fermi-Dirac function as between EC and EV because density of states are absent there? Define Fermi-Dirac function in between EC and EV. But since, yeah, you can do that, but actually there are no density of states. So that means there cannot be any electron. Then what is the use of having a probability distribution function? See, distribution function is useful only if there are density of states. I mean, there are some energy states which are available. If there are no energy states available for the occupation by the electrons, then what will you do with the probability distribution function? The electrons cannot occupy those. I mean, there are no states to be occupied. So yeah, I mean, there is no use of knowing the probability distribution function in that gap. Did I answer your question, or you were trying to ask something else, Raman?
Sir, actually, when we draw the Fermi-Dirac function in that graph, na,
Mm-hmm.
so there are certain finite values of probability. So that I am asking that why we are defining that Fermi-Dirac function in between EC and EV.
Let me go back to that slide. This is the slide you are referring to, right?
Yes, sir. That between that around EF, na, where
Uh-huh.
the black line is there.
Uh-huh.
So between EV and EC, they are showing the F in a certain values.
Mm-hmm.
So, but there are no density of states in between EC and EV.
Hmm. Right.
So why they are defining the function in between that? Either they told that it is zero or don't define it.
No, see, probability distribution function will be there, right? Simply, I mean, if you multiply, if you want to calculate the number of the concentration of electrons in this gap, you will get zero because the density of states is zero. But the probability distribution function can be defined if there were any energy states. If there were any energy states in this gap, then we will have the concentration of electrons in this gap. But since there are no density of states, basically the density of states is zero in this gap, we don't get any concentration of electrons. But the probability distribution function can be there, right? That the probability of finding an electron in this energy gap, that is there, but there are no energy states, so there are no electrons. Those two are actually independent quantities. When we are multiplying density of states by the probability distribution function, that itself tells that those are two independent quantities. Then density of states can be zero. That does not mean that there will be no probability of finding an electron in that gap, right?
O- Okay, sir. Sir, one more thing is there.
Mm-hmm.
Sir, when we say there are no density of state in between conduction band and valence band,
Mm-hmm.
so you told that there is a jumping of electron from conduction to valence band.
Valence to
Sir,
conduction.
balance to conduction.
Hmm.
So means this is not clear how they are jumping means there should be something for continuous uh, moving of electron from one band to another.
Hmm. Mm-hmm.
How is it happen that without energy states
Hmm.
electron passes from one band to another?
Okay. See, actually, that is what I was trying to explain also. Since there are no energy states, the electron cannot move gradually from this state to this state. It has to get a minimum amount of, for example, if you remember in case of metals, there were, because there were continuous energy states, the electron could move gradually from valence band to the conduction band by gaining, certain amounts of energies at each step. In this case, there will be no movement of electron unless your energy is, let me, the energy which you are providing, it should be greater than or is equal to Eg, the band gap. then only there will be any excitation of electrons. Otherwise there will be no excitation. If there were actually energy states available, then this could electron could go first here, then here, and actually the energy could be anywhere, like it could take any amount of energy. In this case the energy will not be absorbed unless it is greater than the band gap of the material, because it has to go directly from here to here. It cannot stay for for any moment in this energy gap. So that's why it cannot take any energy which is in this gap. It can take energy, it can absorb energy only when it is greater than the band gap of the material, because it has to at least jump from the valence band edge to the conduction band edge, and that corresponds to the band gap of the material. All right, is this better now?
Yes, sir. Got it, sir.
Okay, okay. Any other question? Mm, any question? No. Okay, if there are no questions, we will stop here for today, and yeah, we will continue in the next class on Thursday. Thank you.